Winter had come quietly to Willow Hollow that year, the way soft memories drift into the heart before you realize they've settled. Snow had begun to fall long before sunrise, slow, gentle flakes that whispered against the windows of Momma's farmhouse. By the time the sky began to pale, every field, every fence post, every winding path through the woods had been transformed into a world of white. Inside the farmhouse, all was still. The old radiator hummed softly. The scent of pine logs lingered from last night's fire. And three dogs, curled in their favorite sleeping places, breathed deep winter dream breaths. Emmi, the youngest, lay near the doorway, her deadgrass coat catching the faint glow of the porch light. Hunter slept sprawled across the knitted rug, heavy, warm, with the slow confidence of a Chessie who knew his place in the world. And Indy, wise and gentle, curled himself close to Momma's feet on the couch where he could keep watch even in sleep. They didn't yet know what the morning would bring. They didn't know about the tracks waiting in the snow, or the trail that would lead them deeper into winter's quiet heart than they had ever gone before. But they would soon, because Willow Hollow had a way of calling to them, especially after a snowfall like this.
When dawn arrived, it did so softly. No bright sunrise, no beams cutting across the sky. Only a gradual brightening, as though the clouds themselves were exhaling. Momma rose first, stretching the sleep from her bones before shuffling into her warm socks and robe. She peeked out the window, pressed her hand to the cold glass, and whispered a quiet, delighted, "Oh my!" The snow lay deep and clean, untouched by anything except the soft pattern of falling flakes. Momma opened the back door, and the winter air rushed in, crisp, cold, carrying the scent of something pure and new. It woke the dogs instantly. Hunter lifted his head first, nose quivering as if winter itself had tapped him on the shoulder. Emmi scrambled up next, ears perked, her amber eyes wide with anticipation. Indy yawned, stretched so long his back legs trembled, then trotted to join them with the gentle authority only he possessed. Momma laughed under her breath. "All right, babies, go on." The dogs burst outside into the snow. The world greeted them like an open storybook. Snowflakes clung to Emmi's lashes. Hunter shook the cold off his coat and barreled through the yard like a brown blur. Indy sniffed the crisp air with reverence, as if absorbing the quiet wisdom winter always brought him. Snow muffled every step. The woods behind the farmhouse stood silent, dark trunks rising from the white ground like old guardians. Then Emmi noticed something. Tracks, unfamiliar ones, tiny, delicate prints leading away from the fence line and into the woods. She barked once, a soft alert. Hunter stopped. Indy followed her gaze. And just like that, the first spark of adventure flickered through them. Something or someone had walked through the fresh snow long before sunrise, and the trail led exactly where they loved to go, into the winter heart of Willow Hollow. Indy turned toward the farmhouse door, waiting for Momma's approval. Hunter stepped closer, chest puffed. Emmi danced on her paws, unable to contain her excitement. Momma looked at the prints, the snow, the bright, eager faces of her dogs. "All right," she said warmly, "but I'm coming too." She bundled up, coat, boots, hat, gloves, and stepped out into the cold. The winter trail adventure had begun. The trail wound behind the barn, dipped near the old split-rail fence, then disappeared into the first stand of pines. Momma walked slowly behind her dogs, letting them lead, letting them explore. Willow Hollow in winter always felt different, quieter, deeper, almost sacred. Even the wind seemed to walk softly here. The tracks they followed were small and clustered, a rabbit, perhaps, or a fox. But something about the pattern seemed hurried, not frantic, just purposeful, like a creature moving with intention. The dogs knew it too. Hunter led the way, tail high and straight, stopping every few yards to sniff the air. His instincts sharpened in winter. The cold made sense easier to track. Indy stayed close to Momma, looking back often to make sure she was steady on the snow-covered path. His protective nature had only grown stronger with age. Emmi trotted between them, occasionally leaping into deeper snowbanks just for the joy of hearing the soft whump of powder beneath her paws. They passed the old maple grove, its branches heavy with snow. They passed the frozen creek, where long icicles hung like crystal teeth from the bank. They passed the little clearing where, in warmer months, wild daisies grew as high as Emmi's knees. Everything was white now, quiet, peaceful. But the tracks continued, deeper into the woods. And then they reached the place where the wind shifted.
It wasn't a meadow anyone could see from the farmhouse. You had to walk far past a creek, around the bend in the trail, through a corridor of snow-covered pines. Only then would the woods open into a long, narrow valley lined with old birch trees. Momma and the dogs stepped into that hidden world, and everything changed. The snow here was deeper, falling more heavily. The sky above seemed closer, muted and pale. The tracks they'd been following grew more scattered, looping near stumps and circling half-buried stones. Hunter stopped, head lifted, ears forward. Something had been here recently. Emmi pressed her nose into the snow and sniffed deeply, her tail wagging with intense curiosity. Indy positioned himself between Momma and the open meadow, sensing the shift in atmosphere. Not danger, just significance, like something important was nearby. Momma knelt, brushing away a thin layer of snow. There, beneath it, she found something unexpected. A small piece of fabric, pale blue, torn from something larger. "A scarf?" she murmured. Hunter sniffed it and whimpered softly, a sound Momma rarely heard from him. Then, from the far end of the meadow, a flicker of movement, a shadow darting behind a cluster of birch trees. Emmi's ears shot up. The adventure deepened.
Momma raised her hand. "Easy," she whispered, though the dogs already knew. They approached slowly, paws crunching softly through the fresh snow. Then the shadow revealed itself. A small creature, not a fox, not a rabbit. A young fawn, barely old enough to be alone, its fur dusted with snow, its legs trembling from cold. But what caught Momma's heart was this. Around its neck hung a strip of blue fabric, the same color as the piece she held in her glove. The fawn took a hesitant step backward, but Indy lay down gently in the snow, lowering himself to appear smaller. Hunter stayed perfectly still. Emmi tilted her head, her expression soft, warm, inviting. Animals know when they're safe, and the fawn seemed to sense that this strange little pack meant no harm. Momma slowly extended her hand with the fabric scrap. "You dropped this, sweetheart," she whispered.
Something shifted in the trees above them, a sound like snowfall dislodging. And suddenly everything made sense. Another deer, older, taller, stepped out from behind the birch trees. The mother. She'd been searching, too. The little one bleated softly. The mother answered with urgency. Hunter wagged his tail just once, as if greeting a fellow traveler reunited with family. Emmi brushed her nose against the snow and let out a soft whine, her way of saying, "Go on, you're safe now." The reunion was brief but beautiful. The mother nudged her fawn, guiding it gently toward the deeper woods, away from the exposed meadow. Before disappearing, the mother looked back, just once, at Momma and the dogs, a silent thank you only winter could hold. The tracks had led to something important after all.
With their mission complete, the winter trail felt lighter, warmer even, as the temperature dropped. Momma looked at her dogs with so much love it filled the air around them. "My brave babies," she murmured, "you always seem to know when you're needed." They began their journey back, snow falling more steadily now. The sky dimmed as the clouds thickened, but the woods glowed with that soft winter blue that made everything feel dreamlike. Hunter walked proudly ahead, tail swaying like a metronome. Indy stayed pressed to Momma's side, occasionally nudging her boot when she needed to watch her footing. Emmi skipped through fresh drifts, her joy returning now that the tension had lifted. The frozen creek hummed with faint winter music as they crossed it again. The maple grove welcomed them like old friends returning from a long journey. And when the farmhouse finally came into view, its windows glowing gold against the snowy landscape, the dogs picked up their pace. Home always did that to them. Momma opened the door, brushing snow from their coats as they barreled inside. She lit the fire, set a pot of soup on the stove, and warmed blankets in the dryer. The dogs curled around her as she settled onto the couch, their bodies forming a warm, familiar circle. Outside, the snow continued to fall, a steady, peaceful blanket over Willow Hollow. Inside, Momma whispered, "That was a good trail, wasn't it? A good winter adventure." And Emmi, Hunter, and Indy slept, knowing they had once again followed the call of the hollow, and answered it with courage, kindness, and family. The winter trail of Willow Hollow would melt eventually. Seasons would change. The world would shift, thaw, bloom. But some paths don't disappear. Some trails live in the heart long after the snow is gone. And for Momma and her dogs, this winter morning would always be one of them. A quiet reminder that even on the coldest days, warmth waits just beyond the next bend, and that love is the truest trail of all. Thank you for walking the winter trail with us today. Would you follow the winter trail or stay warm by the fire? Let me know. Your comments and likes boost the video and help our cozy dog stories grow.